This memorial service as a way for the community to come together and grieve our losses. Tonight, we have lit luminaries across Hospicare's beautiful grounds, each light representing the loved ones we remember and celebrate for the contributions they made to our lives. We honor the parents, children, siblings, grandparents, family members, and friends who helped shape us and our worlds. Although, just like last year, we aren't yet able to gather in person, we are united in spirit. Though apart, we are together, acknowledging our grief and supporting each other through it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, whether you are physically in Cortland or Tompkins counties or somewhere farther away. We're so glad you're here. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the profound grief felt worldwide as the result of COVID-19. More than 3 million people have died across the planet, 600,000 here in the United States alone, and the impact has been devastating. We also grieve for all the ways in which this pandemic altered our way of life, from being unable to hold a dying loved one's hand, to changing the ways in which we interact with our families, friends, and the world in general. So please join me for a moment of silence as we honor the lives of the women, men, and children who are victims of the pandemic, acknowledging the toll that it has taken on their loved ones, and reflect on all our losses and the reasons that we come here tonight. Thank you again for joining us. Although we are apart, it's moments like these that bring us together in love, in support, and in community. It's now my pleasure to introduce Edna Brown, one of Hospicare's social workers and an accomplished musician.
Good evening. Please feel free to use this time to still your body and focus on your breath while I sing a simple meditation song called Meditation on Breath. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out love. It's my pleasure to introduce Rebecca Schillenbach, one of our spiritual care providers.
Thank you, Edna, for that beautiful meditation. With those echoing notes as our lovely inspiration, I invite us all, wherever we are on this shared evening, to share a breath together. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing in and breathing out. We feel ourselves alive upon this good earth, connected to one another, and connected by the holy work of honoring our grief. This is a vocation few would have chosen, yet it is the soul's livelihood, the work of every human being, and the calling of all who aspire to love. For we who gather together this evening, we know how grief can illuminate what we love, and how very much we ache for and need those illuminations. In his book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, psychotherapist Francis Weller wrote, "I have come to have a deep faith in grief, have come to see the way its moods call us back to soul. It is, in fact, one of the voices of the soul, asking us to face life's most difficult but essential teaching. Everything is a gift, and nothing lasts." This is a painful truth. To accept this fact is to live on life's terms and not to try to deny the simple truth of loss, what the Buddhists call impermanence. When we acknowledge grief, we acknowledge that everything we love, we will lose. No exceptions. Of course, we will keep in our hearts the love of those who depart this earth before us. And it is grief that allows the heart to stay open to this love, to remember sweetly the ways these people touched our lives. Francis Weller and many teachers from many faith traditions tell us that grief is what it feels like when the heart, body, and soul are learning how to lose what we love. Grief is what it feels like when what we love becomes something we can no longer hold. Loving like that just breaks our hearts open. And wide open they must learn to be, to hold what can no longer be held. In his poem, For Those Who Have Died, the 12th century Hebrew poet Judah Halevi marveled at the great risk we take in loving, and how that risk is somehow an inherent invitation right at the heart of what it is to be human. He wrote, "'Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch, to love, to hope, to dream, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, love, but a holy thing, to love what death can touch. For your love has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was a gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death can touch. Being human, friends, there is nothing else to love in our human lives than that which death can touch. Everything is a gift, and nothing lasts. What painful joy. Of course, we long for something that lasts, something to have faith in. And I believe we're on the right track when we call the foolish courage of loving what is mortal a holy endeavor. Because faith in grief is ultimately faith in love. Perhaps a faith in the love that grief reveals was what Jesus of Nazareth was getting at when he assured the gathered throngs 2,000 years ago, "Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Thousands of years later, we who mourn, we who have known the wild edge of sorrow, know also nights can be visited upon us when it feels as if the comfort will surely never come. On those dark nights of the soul, may we too have faith in grief. May we find in our sorrow our measure of the work of being human and our connection to the depths of the soul. May we see by the lamplight of our mourning the illuminated faces of our beloved ones. May we do this holy thing. May we love what death can touch. It is now my honor to introduce Darryl Scott, who will share his story with us.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's an honor to be with all of you this evening, to recall our loved ones, to say their names and extend their light. My mom, Leola Scott, passed away on January 22nd this year at 90 years young. It still gets caught in my throat, but then my heart fills, and my brother Gordon and I go to the joy of having her. My mom's godson, Stephen, whose mom was my mom's, one of her lifelong friends, wrote to check in as we were making arrangements for her homegoing. I wrote and asked, "How's your mom?" "She's okay." "Just okay," I responded. "We're trying to keep each other's spirits up." "How are you and Spuddy?" That's my brother's nickname. I respond, "We're actually great." I read something a few years ago that went, "My mother taught me to do everything except live without her." I found that not to be true for me. Mom was wise and prescient and selfless, full of gratitude, and left me lots of tools: faith, love, humor, joy. I've had my share of tears, but smiling and laughing more now than crying. I had the joy of being with her 24/7 for these last months, and it was beautiful, even the hard parts. She was always gracious and lovely, even when I wasn't. I had her, so I have peace, and it comforts me. He replied, "That's such a good place to be, with no regrets. A happy sorrow." A happy sorrow. Through a long life informed by her faith in life, love, and others, Mom cultivated the skill of happiness and had the gift of loveliness. Others recall her wisdom, her kindness, generosity, and equally her joy, her laughter, her mischievousness, and a smile of genuine warmth. Facing her health challenges in the last year, she revealed the value of those qualities as they emerged in full as she became less well. She enjoyed being with others and teasing all her doctors, her nurses, her PTs, her OTs, and everyone crossing her path and delivering care. She was never in ill humor or spirit, ever. And she was always my mom. She never stopped caring for us or being there for us. In December, I spoke to her doctor, and it became clear that we were on the horizon of her sunset, and he offered the support of hospice for the balance of our journey. Hospice was in prompt contact. Our nurse Jen arrived, clear-eyed, confident, professional, and supportive with an armful of resources. She is just what I needed right then. Meg, our health aide, arrived as an earth angel and delivered such good care gently and efficiently. Edie and Edna never met my mom, but they took such good care of me. And I can say with assurance that Mom is so grateful to you for that care. Being with hospice care allowed my mom to leave the world the way she lived in it, calmly, gently, with grace and dignity. My brother and I, our family, friends, and loved ones will be forever grateful to all of you for that. So among her many talents, Mom was a classically trained organist and pianist and played those instruments and the handbells through her 80 plus years of membership at our church and throughout our community. And she used her music as a ministry. Aptly now, we will have a brief musical interlude by a trio who often sings together for residents of Longview.
Dona nobis pacem.
Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis 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 pacem.
Good evening. My name is Edna Brown, and I'm a hospice care social worker serving patients and families in Tompkins County. First, I wanted to thank Liza Berger and Jim Blake for joining me on that video and song, and also to thank our guest speaker and staff members whose hard work has made this event possible. We will now pause to remember our loved ones with the lighting of luminaries and the reading of the names of those we are remembering tonight. If you are willing and would like the name of your loved one or loved ones to be read aloud, please type their names into the chat box at this time. You'll find that in usually the upper right-hand corner. Our staff members will now light the luminaries here at the Hospice Care Garden, and you may join us by lighting a candle now at home and speaking the name of your loved one aloud. Thank you for sharing the names of your loved ones with us. Rachel Fender will now read a poem and closing words for us.
Thank you, Edna. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Fender. I'm one of the social workers for Cortland County. Thank you for coming tonight. I feel very honored to be sharing this space with you. In recognition of the collective grief and mourning we are all experiencing tonight, I'd like to share a poem I think captures the beauty and power of collective healing. It's titled, "If the Trees Can Keep Dancing, So Can I." It's an adaptation of a poem written by Nancy Cross Dunham. This poem was collectively written and crowdsourced by over 30 people across the United States and internationally. I hope you're able to find yourself in some part of it, and that after over a year of profound isolation, this night of collective mourning has brought some healing to you. What I'm learning about grief is that it sits in the space between laughs, comes in the dark, steals the warmth from the bed covers, threads sleep with thin tendrils, is a hauntingly familiar song, yet I can't remember the words. What I'm learning about grief is that it rolls like a heavy mist, settles into the crevices, lingers on the skin, visits, then visits again, lurking under my chair, and when I'm not watching, reaches out her tiny claws and bats my ankles. You find yourself on your couch with a well of rage living in the pit of your stomach and nowhere for it to go, and it chokes you. What I'm learning about grief is that it can come like a whisper or storm through loud as thunder. It leaves a hollow to be filled with a new planting. And when you wake for another day, it feels oddly the same as the last. It crawls right back into your lap. An ocean of tears. So you vary the crawl with the butterfly, the backstroke, the breaststroke. At some point, drowning is no longer an option. What I'm learning about grief is that it is a language. Suffering is its own speech. It will not go away just because you won't look it in the eye. He rides shotgun with you when you go by old familiar places. Eventually, you will get closer and he will say, "See, it's not so bad. I got your back." This pandemic, this tragedy, this fulcrum of life is a shovel unearthing secrets we wish would stay buried. I learned that I am ashamed I love solitude. Hard times call for soft people. There is a softness in stillness, and staying home, and distractions deleted, and a togetherness that stretches great distances. What I'm learning about grief is not found in mint leaves, floating in a glass of tears boiled thrice over. It is an acquired taste which we never crave. It likes nachos, staying up late, watching Scandinavian murder shows, sleeping in, and eating cake for breakfast. It drips like water. It gets in everywhere. Through the small, unseen fissures in the ceiling, you can ignore it like dust. Just keep yourself too busy with laundry and living. Grief shows up unannounced, like when your husband tells you last October that he's never loved you and wants permission to leave. So you burrow the ache into a carefully guarded well and wonder if that means the memories have to go there too. What I'm learning about grief is that it can turn you into someone you don't want to be, can help you become someone you never thought you could be. Is that it transcends color, race, religion, gender. Is that it's an old lover that won't leave, trying to hold your hand again. That it aches in the arches of feet. That its mother is loss, its father, change. Make room for it. Is that tiny losses add up. The missed first party my son was to attend, the school days he yearns for with his friends. I tell him it will be over soon. What I'm learning about grief, I learned a long time ago. Knead grief as you would bread. Weave grief as you would thread. There is no vaccine against it. We can't develop antibodies to it. It is something I have and something you have, And in these times, it is something we have. It is anger and denial. It is chaotic laughter from splintered memories. It is jagged cries and single tears. It is numb and indifferent. It is the pinprick of light promising a slow semblance of normality returned. What I'm learning about grief is to acknowledge its presence, its many forms and guises, then to use it while reaching out, connected to everyone who is braving the same storm. What I'm learning about grief is that it is still learning about me, learning that I am strong and resilient. If the trees can keep dancing, so can I. And now in closing, Brian will perform taps. Thank you.